Okay. For those of you who keep a pulse on food safety, you'll know a significant recall just hit the headlines. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into this Oscar Mayer turkey bacon situation. We want to pull out the critical details you need to know, straight from the sources. It's really about getting you completely up to speed on something as fundamental as, well, the food we put on our tables.
Yeah, absolutely. We've sifted through the information to give you the crystal clear facts, helping you cut through all the noise, the chatter, and feel truly confident about what exactly happened here. These situations, they can unfold really rapidly, and our mission today is just to ensure you have those precise details so you can act if you need to.
Okay, so let's get into it. On July 2nd, 2025, Kraft Heinz announced this voluntary recall. We're talking over 367,000 pounds of their Philly-cooked Oscar Mayer turkey bacon original. Over 367,000 pounds. Just the scale of that recall alone, it kind of underscores the significance, right?
Yeah.
Both for public health and the huge logistical challenge.
It really does. And the reason given was possible contamination with Listeria monocytogenes.
Listeria. Okay.
Yeah. So zooming out just a little bit, understanding the specific identifiers for this product, that's absolutely critical for you, the listener. This isn't just some general advisory. It's really about helping you pinpoint if your specific package is affected.
Right.
And the key thing is the affected products were all manufactured at their South Carolina plant. That was between April 24th and June 11th, 2025.
Okay, so this is where it really comes down to checking your own fridge, your freezer maybe. What exactly should people be looking for on those packages?
That's a great question, yeah, because the details really matter here. Okay, so for the 12-ounce package, you're looking for UPC 0718715486001. Got that? And the lot number is RS40, RS40, and then there's a use-by date window between July 18th and August 2nd.
Okay, that RS40 lot number, that seems like it might be a common thread here. Is that sort of the main thing listeners should maybe look for first? Alongside the use by date, of course.
Absolutely. Yeah, the lot number and the date range, those are your key checkpoints. Now, for the bigger packs, if you happen to have the 36-ounce one that's sold as a 3-pack, the UPC for that is UR7187154848. And for those, you're looking for different lot numbers, potentially RS19, RS40 again, or RS42. And the use-by dates are later, July 23rd to September 4th.
Okay, so RS19, 40, or 42 for the 36-ounce.
Exactly. And then if you picked up the really big one, the 48-ounce, which is a 4-pack, that UPC is 0718715488793. And it's the same lots and dates as the 36-ounce, so RS19, 40, or 42, and used by July 23rd to September 4th.
Wow, okay, and where did these go? Just U.S.?
Primarily, yes. Distributed nationwide across the U.S., but also important to note they were sent to the British Virgin Islands and Hong Kong as well.
Okay, so potentially quite widespread. That's a lot of crucial information to process. Let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about the specific threat. You mentioned Listeria monocytogenes. Why is that particular bacterium such a significant concern? Especially since, you said no illnesses have been reported for this specific recall yet.
Right, and that's a really important distinction to make. Listeria monocytogenes.
Yeah, it sounds complex, but it's essentially a particularly insidious bacterium. One of the key things about it, unlike a lot of other common foodborne bugs, is that Listeria can actually grow at refrigerator temperatures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which makes it a really persistent threat in cold storage, like your fridge. That explains why a recall like this is so critical. So even without reported illnesses yet for this recall, the potential is serious. Particularly for vulnerable populations, it can cause really severe infections. We're talking pregnant women, the elderly, newborns, and anyone with a weakened immune system.
Hmm.
And the broader context here, just looking at the CDC estimates, Listeria generally has a significant impact every year. Around 1,600 infections, maybe 260 deaths annually in the U.S. overall, so it's not something to take lightly.
Definitely not. So with all that in mind, what are the immediate actionable steps? What should our listeners do right now if they think they might have this product sitting in their fridge? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. First step, check your packages. Use those specific UPC codes, the lot numbers, and the use-by dates we just went through.
Right.
If you find you have any of the affected turkey bacon, the message is crystal clear. Do not eat.
Okay, do not eat it. And what's the next step? What should they do once they've identified an affected package?
Two options, really. Either throw it away immediately, or you can return it to the store where you bought it for a full refund.
Okay.
And just as important, maybe even more so because of Listeria's ability to grow in the cold, you need to thoroughly clean your refrigerator and freezer. Use warm, soapy water, get in there and clean it well to prevent any lingering issues.
That's a really good point about cleaning.
Yeah. And if people have questions, specific questions about this recall, they can contact Kraft Heinz directly. The number is 1-800-280-7185. Or there's an email, consumerrelations@kraftheinz.com. And for just general food safety guidance, there's always the USDA hotline, 1-888-674-6854.
Got it. So you mentioned earlier this wasn't triggered by people getting sick and reporting it. How exactly did this recall come about then? What was the mechanism behind the scenes that triggered this?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It wasn't Consumer Reports this time. It actually originated from FSIS, that's the Food Safety and Inspection Service. It came from their laboratory test results. Their test detected potential listeria in the product.
Ah, so proactive testing caught it.
Exactly. And FSIS then classified this as a Class 2 recall.
Class 2. Okay, now understanding that classification, a Class 2 recall,
Yeah.
you hear medium risk. Does that label really capture the potential severity for everyone? I mean, it's especially someone in a high-risk group, like a pregnant woman you mentioned. Or are these classifications more just for regulatory categorization?
That's a really vital distinction to make, actually. A Class 2 recall does mean the hazard exists and immediate action is definitely needed, but the classification suggests that severe, widespread health consequences are considered unlikely for the general population. Think of it maybe this way. It's different from a Class I recall. Class I signals a high probability of serious adverse health consequences, or even death. Like some of the big E. coli outbreaks in leafy greens we've seen in the past.
Right. I remember those.
Yeah. So Class 2 means the hazard is considered less severe, maybe temporary illness, but it still absolutely requires immediate action. You need to prevent potential illness. So while it might not be an imminent life or death scenario for everyone, it's definitely a clear stop, check your fridge, and act now signal, especially for anyone with these specific products, and most certainly for those in the vulnerable groups we talked about. For them, even a medium risk can be quite serious.
That makes sense. And it's important to realize, like you said, this recall doesn't happen in a vacuum. It kind of shines a light on a larger trend in food safety, doesn't it? Our sources indicate that federal efforts have really increased oversight on listeria, particularly after some other high-profile deli meat outbreaks earlier this year.
Yeah, and it's actually a bit more than just increased oversight. What's really insightful here, I think, is the shift in how these investigations are done now. Following those earlier deli meat outbreaks, FSIS rolled out new genomic sequencing protocols.
Genomic sequencing.
Yeah, basically it means they can trace the exact strain of listeria back to its source much faster, much more precisely than before. So this specific Oscar Mayer recall being detected by FSIS lab tests, well, that's arguably a direct result of that heightened, more sophisticated vigilance. It shows the system working, throughout the food supply chain.
Continuous vigilance. That's a good way to put it. So we've really unpacked quite a bit today on the Oscar Mayer turkey bacon recall. We looked at the specifics, the products, the dates, the codes, also the very real health risks of listeria, especially for certain groups, and, most importantly, the immediate steps you should take to protect yourself and your family. Our mission really was to get you informed quickly and thoroughly, making sure you have all the details you need to take action.
Absolutely. And, maybe this raises a broader question for you to consider as you go about your day. How much do we as consumers kind of unknowingly rely on these continuous, often unseen efforts, by agencies like FSIS, by the companies themselves, constantly testing our food for safety behind the scenes? What does a recall like this, caught by testing, tell us about that hidden layer of protection, the one that goes into bringing food reliably and hopefully safely to our tables every day?